What's going on, everybody? I'm Keith Parham Jr.
And I'm Eugene Mance Jr. And we're the founders of NVsion, Inspiration for Millennials. And today we had the unique opportunity to interview UNCG Chancellor, Dr. Franklin Gilliam.
Through our interview, we were able to gain lessons on life and leadership.
This is an NVsion special, a conversation with the Chancellor.
Take a look.
Well, first, we just want to tell you thank you for giving us the opportunity to talk to you. This is something that we've really been wanting to do for a long time, so it means a lot that you took the time out your schedule to do it.
Thanks for inviting me.
Thank you. You're the Chancellor, you're an author. You also have been named one of the Triad's most admired CEOs, but what do you think best describes you?
Authentic. Just try to be my authentic self and have tried to just be true to who I am and not change because of titles. And one of the things I like to make sure that I do is treat everybody the same and be my authentic self.
What is something that people would be shocked to know about you?
Oh gosh, well, one, that I kind of try to play guitar. I've been taking lessons here over in Winston, actually,
Okay.
And I played some before. Probably not surprisingly, I listen to a little bit of hip hop. I have a 19-year-old son who's pretty involved in that industry, so I hear of all the latest artists and styles and all of that. So I check in with him every couple of weeks to find out who's hot. And so I most of it I don't like, but but what I do like, I think is really the really good hip hop is really brilliant.
What inspires you?
Who inspires you?
Yeah, who inspires me? That's a good question. You know, it's interesting. I mean, everybody says, of course, your parents and your children, your wife, and all of that, and that's true. But sometimes I just find it inspiration in the everyday struggle that people are engaged in and that they overcome, and you go, for example, when we went to the NCAA basketball tournament in Boise, there were 8 members of the pep band who'd never been on an airplane. Wow. And to go to Idaho, you know, and just to see them and how that experience was transforming their worldview, that inspires me. You know, when I see people overcoming the odds.
Wow. That's awesome.
Yeah.
What do you think your purpose is, or what's your why?
Well, you know, I think we all try to make the world a better place than we found it. Certainly, when you become a parent and have kids, your why is to get them off your payroll. No, no. You know, your why is to try to help them become the best people they can be. And then one of the reasons I got into the administrative side and the leadership side of university life was because when I was a professor, and I worried that, you know, there's 12 people reading the articles that I was writing and then publishing in academic journals. It just wasn't have much of an impact. And so I see this, leading this university, as a great opportunity to really help transform people's lives. And that's a pretty powerful mission. Transforming young people's lives is the passion, is why I get up every day, is when I see young folks like you two who are turning into your adult selves and making a path and finding your way.
So you're a pretty accomplished individual, I would say.
I would say too.
Yeah. What lesson is taking you the longest to learn in your life?
I have trouble understanding people who don't want to perform. Not entertainment-wise, but particularly in a job. And so I run out of, I probably need a little more patience than I have. I don't mind if you fail. I don't mind if you lose. I mind if you don't try. I have a lot of sympathy for people who do put forth the effort. I have a lot of respect for that.
Anytime you're the first anything, that comes with a lot of pressure. But you're the first African-American chancellor at UNC Greensboro. Do you feel like that's more pressure on you, or do you feel like there's more eyes on you because of that?
I lived much of my life where I thought my name was first. You know, so I guess I'm used to it. So it's not. I quite frankly didn't think about it. I didn't know that I was the first African American chancellor in the UNC system, not from an HBCU, till I was in the job about 3 months. It just never crossed my mind, frankly. Well, I think I assumed that certainly somebody must have been. And then when I discovered that, I was actually fairly surprised. So, but, you know, I think the goal is to try to achieve a level of excellence, and that's where I'm at, and I don't worry about too much else.
That's really cool. We know that you're a political scientist at heart. With our nation being so divided politically, what's your best advice for us finding common ground? I know that's such a big question.
Well, I do think that the nature of the discourse has to become much more civil, and that we have to be able. I just was talking to somebody just before you all came, who's writing something on the art of disagreement. Oh. That there's an art to disagreeing, right? Just because I disagree with you doesn't mean I have to hate you or dislike you. For example, many of these are age-old debates in this country, the size and the scope of government. Some people believe in more, some people believe in less. We should be able to talk about that with civility.
We want to ask you a question about leadership. What do you think the most important characteristic of a leader is?
I think really it's adaptability and flexibility, but more specifically, it's being able to understand what motivates people, and understanding that not all people are motivated by the same thing. Right? And so some people are motivated because you get after them all the time, right? And they can take that. Some people, if you get after them, they crumble. Some people need to be left alone to work in isolation. Other people need to feel part of the group. Some people need praise, some people don't. Some people are motivated by money, others aren't. Some are motivated by mission, others aren't. And so you have to figure out sort of what...
adapt to them.
And adapt to allow them to become their best self, right? And to get the most out of them. The other thing is, obviously, it's about team, right? The thing about leadership is not about the leader. It's about who the leader puts around them. And I've always believed in not compromising on talent and finding the very best and the very smartest people I can find. I think that's, you can't be afraid to have people smarter than you in the room. I like to say, if I'm the one with the best ideas all the time, we're in trouble. So we need folks who are capable. And I think some leaders don't want that. Some leaders just want everybody to say yes to what they want to do.
It's kind of a sign of insecurity, if you ask me.
I think so, and I think it, sometimes the cult of personality works, but ultimately for the culture of the organization or the long haul, I don't think it works, because as soon as all leaders go, and if you haven't built a culture in the organization, then having sustaining any level of excellence is difficult.
What do you think people can learn from your story?
Well, as I keep trying to tell the students, that there's more than one path to get where you want to go, and again, it's about you being true to who you are best you can, and following that path, and don't worry that you're not necessarily on the same path as everybody else. I went straight from undergraduate to graduate school, straight from graduate school to being a professor, so I took a pretty linear route. But for other people, but I started playing football, and to end up as an academic is not the, and considering sports as a family business, I could have been an agent or a coach or a whatever, but I took a little bit different route. So you got to take the route that's yours.
And we ask this question of everybody that we interview. So you have to repeat after me. I know for sure that.
I know for sure that this interview is almost over. I don't know that I know anything for sure. Actually, the older I get, I think the less sure I am of what I do know, because I in fact know more. And so it makes it more complex or more variables, and so it reduces certainty. However, I do believe in science, and I do believe that there are some universal truths, particularly with regard to science. So, actually, it's interesting. As I've gotten older, I've gotten less certain. Because you're young, you think you know, but actually you find out that things are much more complicated than you thought, and you have a little less certainty than you had. Things happen, you know, experiences and things you thought were certain. Certainties all of a sudden aren't. I could go back to my theme, which is I'm pretty certain that a life well lived is a life being true to one's authentic self.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you.